So I actually just coached some Tracer 2 days ago, and we talked about this, but we're going to talk about it again because I think it's really important. It's called the Kevster principle. Kevster is a really, really great ex-Overwatch League player, not that the league is dead, and he's one of the best, maybe the best Western DPS player. And basically the idea is that when you're playing Tracer, your job is like, let's say this is the enemy team, this is a support over here, and this is a DPS on the flank, and there's a DPS here, and then this is the tank, and the support's over here. You're looking at this as Tracer, right? And you're thinking, oh, it's just easy. I just go pick off this guy, and then maybe I can pick off this guy, and then this guy, these guys maybe I don't really want to mess with, right? Because they're not isolated, right? But you brought up a really great point. What happens when the enemy team is grouped up, or maybe not even super grouped up, but just close enough to where it feels like every time that you put any pressure, you get the entire cavalry looking at you, right? What do you do?
I just take an off angle?
Oh, right. Well, that goes without saying, right? So first thing you should be doing is taking an off angle here, or taking an off angle there, taking an off angle here, taking off angle here. Any of these positions are fine. But again, the problem still presents itself is like when I pressure, this target is realistically, it's not going to die, right? There's too much help. Yeah. And not only that, but it feels like I'm always on a nice edge of dying myself because the second I sneeze in their general direction, everybody turns around, right? And I just get blown up and I die instantly. And you're playing a 150 HP character, right? Let's not kid ourselves here. So what's the goal here? When you do play versus teams that are grouped up, what's the goal?
Try and, I guess you could try and distract the support.
Yes.
Or DPS.
Yes. See, you have it right there. You already know the answer. The answer is that because they're not isolated, the chance of the kill is not there. But the value of distraction is much higher. You see, think about it this way. When the enemy team is all split up, right? When you go for an isolated target, right? And I mean really isolated. Is this target way over here likely to get a lot of help? Not really. Probably not. So that means bad things and good thing. The good thing is that you get the kill. Ding, nice job. The bad news is that you don't really distract this person, and 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 they're smoking your team, right? So it's still good that you got the kill, but you're not really getting any distraction value at all. So the good news and the bad news is when they're grouped up, when there's no isolated targets, you do not have a real serious chance of getting a kill. But when you do shoot this target, you could probably see where I'm going with this. Your distraction value is way higher. You might even get 5 members of the enemy team looking at you, which is really freaking good for your team. Really, really good for your team. The problem is, there's 2 problems. Number 1, you got to be prepared for that. You got to know what's happening. You got to be like, oh, these guys are grouped up. This is going to be a 2v1 or a 3v1 or maybe even a 4 or 5v1. Right? And so what is your mentality when you go into that engagement? How do you use your cooldowns? How do you position yourself? Think about it.
Well, what I normally do is I'll go in and get really aggressive since I have recall. Yeah. And I'll go in, I'll try and one clip someone, and then they'll all turn around and shoot me. So then I recall, and then I kind of just circulate. When I get my recall, I mess up a lot because sometimes I forget I didn't have my recall there. But and then I'll just move in again and watch, rinse, repeat. And
that's good, right? You got to utilize cover. You got to use your health packs. You got to use your blings. You got to utilize your recall. But basically, you're playing. You know that you're not really going to get a kill, so you're playing it real cautious. Just being an annoying gnat as much as you possibly can. And this is what the Kevster principle is. It's seeing these situations here and understanding that I'm not going to get a kill, but I am going to distract and adjusting how you play slightly. Guess what? When you do this is not exactly going to kick off all the dopamine reactors. Certainly not early in the fight. Because you're not going to be getting the opening pick. It's not happening. You might get mid-fight or late-fight cleanup kills. You burn that recall, you go back in there when your team helps you and you push back in. But you're not going to be getting that dopamine. And you might think, oh boy, I'm just going to carry it. I'm not even the kill feed at all. I have 10 less eliminations than my other DPS. But yet, why did your DPS, or your Cassidy over here, why did he just kill 3 people?
because I was behind them and distracting them.
Right, because they had their backs turned, and not only did they have their backs turned, they were also throwing flashbang or grenade or sleep dart or you broke pylon or defense matrix return, and that's exactly what you're doing. And that's not always super satisfying, but it's good, honest work.
Yeah.
And the good news is that there will be opportunities frequently where somebody will be isolated, or mid-fight, they'll be like, oh no, shoot, we're getting turned in the back. Everyone stop, look at the tracer, turn around, focus on, and then, there's your opportunity to go in and get actually secure the kill. The question is are you recognizing those opportunities, and are you being patient with yourself when you're just distracting? That's the question.
Sometimes not.
And that's what we'll look at in the review. Yeah. So really all Tracer is take an angle, time the pressure at the same time as your team, so that even if you don't get a kill, that distraction value has value, right? Mm-hmm. The worst thing in the world is to distract when nobody's there to get value from that distraction. Take an angle, pressure, and then mechanics. How are you moving? How are you using your recall? How are you using your blinks? That's pretty much all there is to it. Remember, you always kind of want to be the pest on the outside. You never want to put yourself right in the middle of the picnic where 7 different hands are going to be swatting you, right?
You don't want to make a tracer sandwich.
Exactly. You know the terminology. So these are one of those awkward times where it's like, well, then what do I do here? What you do is you don't do this. Yeah. You don't do this, because this is exactly like you said. It's not either a tracer sandwich or it's a frontline tracer. What I would do here is just go back up the stairs and maybe even look to hide here, wait for the supports to walk forward, utilize this little room here, and look for an opportunity to drop and harass backlines. Or if the supports are really far back, do what you said initially and rotate all the way around. You beat that tracer. Now, you cheated. You had Kiriko help, but that's okay. You used your Kiriko. You beat the tracer. So now you can wrap all the way around behind if you'd like to. But instead, you got a little bit of that ADHD. I'm not shooting something right now, so I must shoot something right now. And instead of setting up in a better position to shoot more valuable targets, you put yourself in a dangerous position where you're shooting a not so valuable target. And the reason why that's so bad is even though you didn't die, what value are you getting right now?
Minimal ult charge.
Minimal ult charge, minimal distraction, minimal kill threat, minimal space control, and all the advanced esoteric concepts. But you're doing nothing, basically. And not only that, but you're not really in a good position to do something anytime soon either. Because to get back on an angle, it's going to take you a little bit. And heck, you're still missing HP. You see this? Ugh, why am I looking at Amalga? Ugh, why is that Ashe killing my... You should have one-clipped her, right? You should be up here one-clipping her, right? So it's always one of those things where it's like, man, how were they able to get all these kills? Well, it's because the life of the On of the Ashe are under no pressure. Why? Because he wanted to shoot Amalga instead of set up on an angle to pressure backline.
Oh, okay.
You see that?
This is where I get confused, because I've had so many people tell me, oh, play with your team. Don't go for those off angles. And then I'm like, okay, well, he said, I think it's better to stick with your tank even. And he's like, those off angles, your team needs to be around, which,
yes, of course.
See you.
Sure.
Which made sense to me, right? But then he said, stick with your tank. And I was just like,
right. Well, I was with him up until that. That's all right. Not everyone has this as their job. And sometimes not everyone has perfect advice, but regardless, this is kind of what your friend or the guy that was getting advice from, this is kind of what they're saying, right? Where it's like you are playing around your team right now. Because is your team engaged right now? Is your team fighting? Really. I mean, a little bit, right? I mean, look at this. Look at the tank trade, right? There's stuff happening right now, right? So you would take an angle at the same time. You get to the targets that you want to. The reason why angles matter so much is because it takes you forever to kill Amalga. But it doesn't take you forever to kill an Honor, an Ashe, or Life Weaver. Even if you don't kill them, the more cooldowns and the more panic that you force, the more of that Kevster principle, right? The more cooldowns, the more distraction. And that you will kill the Amalga by pulling resources to yourself. So I like what you're doing right now. This is good. Good try.
Yeah.
Because let's be very clear. You have fumbled the bag miraculously with these mechanics right here, right? This is ugly. However, look at the kill feed. I wonder why.
Because he didn't have an Ana healing him.
Mm-hmm. And at any point in time here, if you play this correctly, you should get this kill, and you probably shouldn't die. Heck, there's also life grip too. You got a huge cooldown now. I know you're eager here. This is the Kevster principle, right? How many people are going to look at you right now? Let's count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Sleep dart as well. The question is who is benefiting from this 4v1?
I guess no one, because my team isn't engaged all the way back there.
You see this?
Mm-hmm.
So this is an example where it's like, I'm being focused, my team should benefit from this. Because it's not bad that's a 4v1. It's bad that's a 4v1 right now.
Yeah.
So what should you do right now?
Stick with my team?
Nope.
Set up.
Set up and wait. So you're kind of set up already right now. You just need to sit and listen and hide. Right? Wait for your team. Yeah. Listen. Wait. Okay, when do we go in here? Okay, we're waiting. Listen here. Kind of keep them busy. Okay. Set up. Maybe I want to kind of deepen my angle sneakily here, right? Maybe get a little cheeky with it. Okay. All right. We're going to ignore what just happened in the kill feed right now. All right. The tanks are now fighting. So now this is the time to go. And you could not only see it, but you could hear it as well, right? And look at what is presented to you if you were to engage right now. One of two things. Super high Kevster principle, right? Maybe 3 people turning around to look at you so Malga dies. Or maybe the Ashe and Lifeweaver are deaf and the Ana dies. Or maybe you can get a 1 clip here, right?
Yeah.
Let's watch what happens instead. Right.
Yeah.
So, you go from being the hero, absolute deadlifting your team the win, to absolute being the chump, absolute heel.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes, right? That's how it goes. And I think that's important to note that even after this review, that you're still going to make not just mechanical errors, you're going to make decision-making in game sense errors, because not only do you have to build these new habits, but this takes thinking, right? This is like, a lot of thinking involved here. So you're going to be a little slow and you're going to make some bad reads. Like right now you might think that, my Lifeweaver is engaged, I should fight here. But I'd actually argue that your Lifeweaver is dead. And right now you should probably not be engaging at all. You kind of got the right idea. Right? But you're not always going to make the right decisions. This character is there's a lot of complicated details, but like we said at the start, you don't necessarily need to do every tiny little detail, right? The basic fundamentals are pretty simple. Take an angle, pressure at the right time, and then, good things will happen. Like right now, I'm predicting good things from this. Why? Because I really freaking love this angle. I love the fact that you have 2 blinks and your recall and cover and a mini health pack. I love the timing of this engage. I love the angle itself that you got to backline. I think that this is going to feel pretty good. Now, the other team has ultimates. Your team has ultimates, so maybe not. But I like, at least from what I see right now, this is double thumbs up. Perfect. And I even like the target that you're shooting here. See, I don't even know. Oh, no, Lifeweaver. No. No, I don't want to go there. But right? Think about it. But think about it. Think about it. Again, it feels like everything that could have gone wrong this fight went wrong. And yet, watch what happens. While she's so focused on shooting you, which, by the way, she doesn't even stop you from... She's dead.
Yeah.
That was your job. You did your distraction. And the funny thing is you're still here distracting. And here's the funny thing. Oh, this is just beautiful. This is really good. This is one of those fights where I bet you felt carried.
It was.
But the reality of the situation is nice, Pulse. Reality of the situation, okay, this Lifeweaver is getting obnoxious. The reality of the situation is that you were a massive distraction that allowed your Lifeweaver to get the first pick. And then you also forced this initial CDs in the distraction that allowed your team to win this fight safely. And you also did a pretty good amount of damage, too.
Okay.
Yep. Uh-oh.
See, I also got told... you'll see me do this a lot where I'll just peek from cover and shoot. I got told by this guy, and he says, well, you need to incorporate some stuff from awkward too. He's like, you're just doing nothing right now. You need to build ult charge.
Right.
And if I do that, I reveal my position. He's like, doesn't matter, build ult charge. And I duoed with him a lot, and I kind of built a bad habit of just peeking and shooting.
Right.
To build ult charge, because I feel like, oh well, he told me I wasn't doing anything. I'm not doing anything. And I just Yeah,
and you see exactly the issue here, right? Like the problem is that awkward is right, in a lot of ways, that a lot of tracers take way too long in their setup. They end up really late to the fight. They're really hesitant. They're really scared. It's about getting your uptime up, but not all uptime is created alike. For example, if you shoot now, you're going to do damage. You're going to do distractions. But what's going to happen by the time the fight probably starts? Where are you going to be? We've already seen this once in this exact same map, right? What happens?
I'm going to be forced either to go back to my team, run away and wait for my cooldowns to refresh, or I'm going to die.
Or you're going to die. And there's a much higher chance of that death because everybody can chase you because there's nobody else but you. And this is the problem where it's like, yes, your uptime will be high, but it will be at all the wrong times. When there's no follow-up from your team, there's very low chance of getting a kill. The distraction is the Kevster principle doesn't matter because there's nobody there to follow up, and the chances of your death matter significantly less. And best case scenario, like you said, you end up back inside your team shooting the enemy Malga in the face, which is just not great. I think there's a lot of things that are really great about pushing uptime, but it's about when is that uptime. When the fight starts, you should try to min-max your uptime by playing cover, by having a good off angle, by having health packs, by choosing the right targets, by moving well, right? But chasing uptime like it's the most important thing that matters is really, really silly. It's really silly. Because this is exactly what we talked about, right? Where it's like, maybe you could get this kill here. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just die. Oh my goodness, you should have died. And now the fight's about to start. And where are you?
I'm nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found. Now, to be fair, their Tracer got a kill as well, but this is a disaster. Even here feels like, think about it this way. When would be the best time? So you're walking up, right? Is now a good time? You can see through walls. Is now a good time to go?
Not quite yet.
Not quite. Close. Not quite. 1 second, maybe even. It's better, though, because the fight is happening, and... And so Kevster principle here, again, look at the kill feed, right? It was good enough for you to pull attention away from both supports. And the Malga has got to be like losing his mind because he's like, you know, what am I supposed to do? Where are my supports? I literally received 0 healing this entire fight. Nice job. You know, and I want to say, again here, be careful. I love the angle you got here, but this mount, they're not committing. So be careful. All this distraction value, all these CDs, just be careful, because that Malga is not touching this yet. Just let it rest. Like you can even hear, listen for the combat sounds of that tank. Now is a good time to go, right? But the problem is you've already kind of given yourself away. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's another factor as well, is that where you have the surprise element. But if you've already given yourself up, then it's just not as valuable.
So it seems like a big thing for me is I need to work on my patience.
Patience, yes, 100%. So that you can have better uptime when it actually matters. Hope you enjoyed the video. That was the Kevster principle, which I feel to be one of the most important things for any Overwatch player, Tracer player or not, to be able to implement. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. If you're interested in supporting me further, because this is my full-time job, please check out all my links in the description. There's YouTube, there's Twitch, there's Patreon, there's Discord where you can actually ask me questions as well. All of those links, as I said, are in the description. Have a wonderful rest of your day.